And now each of these signs are a penal sign, discussing that they, will cut their own throat, rip out their tongue, or cut out their bowels and hang it in there.
Exactly.
And
Everything you said is absolutely true. Now I'm a Christian, and the Bible says that we're not to take oaths,
right,
especially these hideous oaths. And of course, it's interesting, all of the disciples and Jesus himself said that they did nothing in secret.
right,
Everything they did was in the open. We as Americans should demand this of our leaders, that they do nothing in secret. Everything should be in the open in a free and democratic country.
absolutely. But we're dealing with an order of death.
Yeah. We see this. This is probably in Germany, the Death's Head corps of the Gestapo and so forth. And of course, the Death's Head has been barred by the Order of Skull and Bones as one of their symbols, as you know, with John Kerry being a member,
Right.
Senator John Kerry, and George W. Bush, and his father as well. So here we have an occult brotherhood of death right here in America at Yale University, 15 young men, only the elite. I mean, if you or I went to Yale University, even if we could afford to get in, and we had the influence to get in, we're not going to be able to join, we're not going to be tapped, as they call it, for the Order of Skull and Bones, and live in the tomb next to a cemetery. That's where they live. They live adjacent to a cemetery for their senior year, and they're sort of outfitted and prepared for the world. And then they become the high-level executives. And that's why George W. Bush, when he ran for governor of the state of Texas, he had no opposition.
No.
The minute he chose to run, the Bush dynasty went into operation, and all the other people said, we don't want any part of that. We don't want to make the Bush dynasty mad at us. So these people have favored lives, you see.
And knowing this crew, I really believe that HW would have used some ritual and also psychological warfare on his own child to bring him up in a particular.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure of that. Many of these people have all kinds of rituals and requirements. I believe that many of them in their mansions, and I have proof of this, have various satanic idols and even altars set up with black candles and worship Baphomet and other false gods. And it's so incredible because we see them, Bill Clinton, he takes his Bible in hand, he walks over to a Methodist church down the street from the White House when he was in office on Easter Sunday. Right after, of course, he had sex with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office, he goes to church. But in fact, these people are members of the Bohemian Grove, the Order of Skull and Bones, and they do various hand signs, have various rituals, and they're not at all Christians. Not at all.
Not even close. See, I found this picture of Jesus giving a hand sign. There was an article about Jesus being a Freemason, and they.
Oh, is that right?
But we know, of course, that the Templars and the Masons have a large deal to do with building cathedrals.
They do, because there's such a thing as occult or sacred architecture.
Yes.
And I noticed on the intro to this program, a tremendous job you did showing some of the buildings, even in downtown Austin, with some various messages embedded in the very architecture.
Yes.
Of these buildings. So it's interesting, if Satan is prince of the power of the air, a demon, if you will, a devil, then is he not flying in the skies above, sometime looking down and saying, isn't it wonderful? The world is patterned after my design. And the Masons, of course, call themselves, they say they worship the grand architect of the universe. Yeah, here's the Pope. Notice the Pope John Paul II, Freeman, behind him is an upside-down cross.
Yes.
Well, isn't that what Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan had? Upside-down crosses. Is that not a symbol? That's not a mistake. He has cardinals, he has advanced men, he has front men. They arrange the altars and the thrones and all these things. So he doesn't just go in there and they've made a mistake and they put the cross upside down by accident, you see.
Well, that takes us to their God. They are finally informed later on. Well, here we have the secret hand sign of Babylon.
Oh, yes. Now, that's an interesting one. Remember Napoleon?
Yes.
I don't know if you have a picture of old Napoleon.
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. You put your hand like this.
There's George Washington.
Regrettably, George Washington was a member of this group. I used to see Napoleon giving this sign, and I said, well, maybe there he is. And you see that in all the famous paintings of Napoleon. And Freeman, as a young boy, I said, well, maybe his hand was cold.
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to, he should have had a better jacket than that. Look, it's too small for him.
Yeah.
But in fact, of course, this is a Freemasonic sign. It's I call it the hidden hand of the god Jabulon.
Jabulon.
And that is the Masonic god. And it's a combined god of Jehovah and Baal, who is the devil in the Bible, and On, another name for the Egyptian sun god. And so they have this unholy witches brew combination, and higher level Masons are told this is the god you worship, Jabulon.
Jabulon.
Oh, there is one of the Masonic symbols, and as you can see, you have a triangle, the unholy trinity of the devil, and you have the eternal circle, the satanic boast that he will reign forever. And there you have Jah, meaning Jehovah. But in an unholy mixture, he's mixed with the bull, you might say, or Baal. And the Bible mentions that Baal is indeed one of the ancient Canaanite fire gods, which is the devil. And then you have On, or On, which is the name of a city in Egypt wherein they worshipped the great sun god. And of course, his all-seeing eye is on our dollar bill.
Yes.
So how did that get there? Well, there's another story behind that.
We're going to get to all of that.
This is the Tau sign.
Go to the next shot there.
And here again this is the highest sign of Royal Arch Freemasonry. Well, now there we have something that would appear to be from the Bible, because the Old Testament talks about the serpent being put upon a cross, and anyone who looked upon it was healed. But of course, in the occult, then they make the serpent to be holy.
Yes, they do. They're in their own works.
In their own works. And that's why the cover of my book, Codex Magica, has this Ouroboros serpent swallowing his own tail, which maybe we can talk about. Hey, here you've got an image of Aleister Crowley, the great, I call him great, he was really infamous,
right,
a British Satanist. And L. Ron Hubbard went and studied under this British Satanist and founded Scientology. But here, look at the symbols of his hands, and the sun, radiant sun with a triangle on the headgear, and absolutely a Satanist. He would carve satanic images in the breast and the chest area of his women. He had a harem, and of course he was also a bisexual, so he had males who he had sexual rituals with as well. These are all hideous emblems that bring in the male phallic symbol and all kinds of things.
They seem to worship that a lot.
Well, they do. Basically, all of these cults are sex cults, because the mystery religions, they go back to the mystery religions, and they're related to that, and they're all sex cults. They have the goddess. Remember, they had the holy prostitutes in the temple, and all of these are throwbacks to those kinds of things. What we're seeing there underneath the Jabulon symbol, underneath is a 3x3 ceremony in one of the Masonic rituals. And basically they do their hands and legs in such a way that literally it forms 666 when you get to various numerological configurations.
I found a lot of 666s.